Welcome to Chicago. So I'm going to talk about infrastructure. Yeah, we're going to talk about infrastructure for a second. And I'm going to talk about infrastructure from an entrepreneurship perspective because I think it's important. That's the next slide up here. So in Cincinnati, there's this bridge. It's called the Brent Spence Bridge. It crosses the Ohio River right in the middle of downtown Cincinnati. It's two interstates that all go into one bridge. It was built in 1960, rendered functionally obsolete in 1985. It's a symbol of bipartisan infrastructure reform. President Obama gave a big speech in front of it. Mitch McConnell lives like 20 minutes this way in Kentucky. John Boehner lives like 15 minutes the other way in Ohio. This is the one bridge that you think could bridge the divide. No pun intended. And both President Obama and President Trump said, you know what, we're going to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure. Broadband, roads, bridges, renewable energy. If you're a guy like me who travels, you just want to say, can you please fix O'Hare, LaGuardia, and JFK, right? But we have another entrepreneurship and another infrastructure problem in this country, and it's entrepreneurship. New businesses are starting at a lower rate in our last 40 years. Millennials are starting fewer businesses every day than baby boomers at the same age. And more businesses die every day in this country than are born. So I want to say, well, let me first say that there's an opportunity here in community-based businesses. So there's one bright spot that community-based businesses, as small businesses, minority, veteran, women-owned businesses, are actually growing in number, but not in investment dollars, not in sales figures, and not in employee revenue. So I think we can do two things. We can build the bones of our infrastructure, bones of our country, the infrastructure, the roads, bridges, pipelines. We can also build the circulation, the entrepreneurship, that lifeblood of our economy. And we can do both at the same time. Or said another way, if we're going to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure, it's going to be incomplete unless we can both build our infrastructure and rebuild our communities and our economy and our entrepreneurs. In my paper for the Millennium Compact, I talk about a few of the ways you can do that at the same time. I'll talk a few of them right now today. First off, how infrastructure is paid for and financed is just as important as what we spend it on. Public-private partnerships are considered the ideal marriage between the public sector and the private sector, right? But sometimes they're not always great for community businesses. It adds these financing layers between the funding opportunity and the actual entrepreneurs on the ground that are going to do the work. Imagine a project that's funded by the federal government, given to a state financing arm, which then gives it to a nonprofit / public-private partnership, which then gives it to a big bank, which then finances to a contractor, which finally ultimately goes to a woman-owned construction company that's supposed to actually do the work. Now, are we really maximizing our investment in that woman-owned entrepreneur if we have all these layers in between the funding opportunity and the actual entrepreneur? The same thing happens for the financing of these businesses, actually. If you think about it, all these businesses need the capital to hire people, capital to do the work, and the surety bonding so they can execute the projects. In 2008, we tried this. The SBA tried to release a bunch of money for small business owners to capture the stimulus package that President Obama signed. But unfortunately, big banks get in the way, and then all of a sudden, the money's not distributed to the community entrepreneurs that need it. This time when we do infrastructure reform, let's have money go directly to the local small business lenders that can lend to the community-based businesses that are actually going to execute the work, and we can actually build our entrepreneurship from the ground up. We can't let these intermediaries get in the way, and in the meantime, let's actually train our entrepreneurs not only how to be better electricians and data center analysts, but also how to be better entrepreneurs and build sustainable businesses as well. The other thing I want to talk about is the idea of leveling the playing field. We need to make sure that our entrepreneurs, our community-based businesses, our small businesses, women, veteran, minority-owned businesses can actually compete for contracts. Set goals, requirements, make sure that we actually set aside money to invest in these businesses. And when we already have those goals and requirements, let's double down on them. And where we can, let's add compliance and make sure that we can actually ease the certification process. I'm a small business owner myself, and in the state of Illinois, it's taken me 12 months to apply for minority-owned status, and that's unacceptable if we want to invest in our entrepreneurs. I say as progressives, we set a goal of 50%. 50%. That's 50% of all infrastructure spending should go towards community-based businesses, small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women, veteran-owned businesses. That's $500 billion we can invest not only in our infrastructure, but in our business community. Now you may say, well, it's hard to do all that, right? Why can't we just have Comcast build the broadband, have KBR build the bridges and have Goldman Sachs pay for the whole thing. That's the easy way out. It's also the short-sighted way out. We need to make sure that the money is actually going to go to the small community businesses that actually invest in our local communities. They're likely to hire more people. They're actually to support local organizations. And I know this firsthand. My great-grandfather was an inventor in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My grandfather moved from Mississippi to Chicago to start several small businesses. My dad started a small computer software company that I actually run to this day. And I know for a fact, firsthand, that entrepreneurship helped my family legacy escape Jim Crow in the Deep South. I think entrepreneurship can transform communities. And I think that if we take our infrastructure investment and we invest in 21st century infrastructure while investing in 21st century entrepreneurs that will build 21st century businesses, we will also build 21st century communities. Thank you all very much for listening.